Clause 34, Mediations. We have two clauses under this section. For full statement, you may refer to PAM Contract 2018. I guess by now you know what is mediations. It is basically a mechanism to resolve dispute. Dispute happen when there is an disagreement between the employer and the contractor on the monetary issues related to the project. One of the reasons that can raise mediations, it will be either of the party disagree with the final account. You know that final account is issued after the contractors have practically completed the work. The contractor submit the documents to the architect and quantity surveyor, providing details and particulars so that the architect and quantity surveyors can produce the final account. Having this final account disclosed to the employer and the contractor, one of the parties disagree with the final figures there. Now the disputing parties can write a notice and provide the particular to justify the dispute. These particulars will later be taken into considerations by the architect and quantity surveyor, and they shall decide whether the final account remains or with the amendment. By now, there will be the second versions of the final account. These versions of final account, if without any amendment, that means this will be the final versions of the final account. But if these versions of final account is actually with amendment, the previous final account will be superseded. So now this will be the final versions of the final account. Having these final versions of the final account disclosed to both sides, there is still a party disagree with that. Now the party disagreeing may not necessarily be the parties with the dispute here. It can be the same person. It may due to the amendment and now the other person disagreed with the new amendment. Regardless who is the disputing party now, within 3 months' time, the disputing party may refer to mediations. Now this triggers the mediations. When the mediations is triggered, there should be a written agreement that both employer and the contractors would like to refer the dispute for mediations. Now at this stage, when both parties agree to go for mediations, that means mediation should take place. The next step, it will be having a mediator. We established previously, for the mediations process, only one mediator will be required, and they will have to appoint a mediator. Now for the persons being hired as the mediator, we need to acquire the agreement from both sides. One person propose a mediator and get the agreement from the other one. If the other one disagree with that, they will have to propose a new mediator. The durations given is 21 days for them to agree with a mediator. If they fail to agree with the persons being hired as the mediator and it has exceeded 21 days, any party may apply to the PAM. Here specifically written that to the presidents of PAM, which is Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, for the PAM to appoint a mediator for the case. Upon appointment, the mediator should initiate the mediations based on the current editions of PAM mediations rules or any modifications or revisions of the rules. Next, mediation should not prejudice the parties' right to adjudications or arbitrations. It means that the mediations is not a requisite to the adjudications or arbitrations. One can go directly to adjudications or arbitrations without going through the process of mediations. It doesn't mean that you have to go for mediations before you proceed with adjudication or arbitrations. This will be the first point. you can go straight to adjudications or arbitrations. The second point here is the mediation shall not restrict the adjudications or arbitrations. It means that now if you are doing these mediations, it doesn't mean that you cannot go to adjudications or arbitrations. In another word, while the mediations is running or having the mediations completed, it doesn't mean that arbitrations and adjudications cannot be carried out since you have these mediations. This is what it means. It shouldn't restrict the adjudications or the arbitrations. So, the point that we can acquire from clause 34 here is that in order to trigger these mediations, both sides will need to agree to enter that process. And then both sides will need to agree with a mediator. If they cannot come to an agreement, now the selections of the mediator shall be determined by the Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, which is PAM. And the mediator shall initiate the mediations process based on the PAM mediations rules. And then when you have these mediations, it doesn't mean that you cannot go to adjudications or arbitrations, as the mediations is independent from the two. Which also, this mediations is not a pre-requirement before the launching or commencement of the adjudications or arbitrations.